Welcome to the journey. I'm your host, Dan Kinjorski, and the other host of the journey is Krystal Barbosa. I have to think about that all the
It's
time.
okay.
I see so many people. I
I
don't
know,
want to mess
it's
you
okay.
up, Krystal. But thank you for coming in today to talk to me about communication.
Yeah,
I think communication is important in any relationship,
yeah,
right?
any.
You can't get anywhere without communicating. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Um, so communication is very important. So tell us, why does communication matter?
Well, communication, it matters in any relationship when you think about the fact that that's how you're kind of telling, you're expressing your feelings, you're expressing your thoughts, and you want them to come across as you intend to. But
Right.
quite often, it's not exactly what we say. There's more than just what we say that matters.
Okay.
A lot of what we say is just 7% of the entire comprehension of what someone's trying to say.
Really?
So a lot of it has
Okay.
to do with our body language.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our
Okay.
body language, our
And
tone of
what
voice.
am I communicating right now?
Right now, you're communicating that you're bored and you don't want to be here.
Right. But I'm not communicating, am I?
Yeah. No, you're
Yeah.
distracted.
I'm
You're not
distracted.
looking in my direction. Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of the body language and what you're doing shows a lot. Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it
Perfect.
says a lot. It was an
Example.
example.
I figured it was. That's why I was like, okay, he's going somewhere with this.
Yeah, it's an example
Yeah.
because a lot of times we do that to one another at
Oh,
home,
yeah.
don't we?
Especially with our phones.
Yeah.
Our phones, I'm glad you brought it up because that's
Yeah.
something that a lot of, not just relationships, but people have been trouble with is phones. We're always on our phone.
Right.
And we're never putting down our phone to have that conversation. Quite
Mhm.
often people still have their phone in their hand. So yeah, not having your phone in your hand while you're trying to have a conversation, that's really important.
Right.
Yeah.
I would even go as far as, I wonder what it would look like literally. And I know this is probably an utopian dream. If at 5 o'clock every day, everyone, maybe we ought to advocate that.
What?
Everyone at 5 p.m., turn off your phones and turn it back on at
Oh.
9 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
So you have your phones from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Yeah.
So what's that, 8 hours
Yeah.
approximately?
Yeah.
We should have a campaign, cell phone use only from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Yeah.
We should start a campaign like that.
Well, they had a campaign similar to that actually.
Really?
Yeah, they had a campaign where they gave teenagers, they asked their phone for their phone back,
Right.
and they had to communicate like it was the 90s.
The 90s?
Yeah, you have to call landlines.
Why the 90s?
Well,
Why
because
not the 70s or the 60s?
well, that's just what they did.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was all
Well,
landline communication. These kids weren't able to communicate. These were high schoolers.
oh,
They weren't able to communicate. Yeah,
it was a test.
it was a test.
I
Yeah.
see.
And what they noticed was
Yeah.
that group of teenagers, they were
Right.
actually communicating more than they normally do because they had that interaction. At first, they didn't know how to deal with it. It shows like struggle with how do we communicate. We're so used to communicating with our phone through
Right.
text.
Right.
And so it was a little bit of an adjustment. But after the 30-day experiment, by the end, they said their communication and their friendships were a lot stronger because they were communicating.
And they probably had more friends.
Yep.
You know how many people I talk to almost daily in the counseling world
Oh, yeah.
that don't have many friends?
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't talk to a lot of teens at this point, but even adults,
Yeah.
they don't have a lot of friends, and
Yeah.
it's sad.
Yeah.
I think Mr. and Mrs. Digital became our friend.
Yeah.
No, literally.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, people find companionship on technology.
Oh, yeah. And
Is
they
it?
find a place to hide because there's a lot of people who are willing to text something, but they're not willing to say it to your face.
Mm,
That's kind of where the trolls come in. If you ever do online
yeah.
media stuff, a lot of trolls will come in just to kind of start problems,
Right.
And so, yeah,
Right.
communication can go really great, or
Right.
it can be used in a really foul way.
Right. So what you're saying in the very beginning is that communication involves how we connect,
Yeah.
clarify,
Yeah.
and resolve. Um, I like your note here that says relationship problems come from how we talk, not just what we say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
talk more about that, how we talk.
Yeah.
So if we're constant,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go
No.
ahead.
If we're constantly loud, what does that say? And constantly loud and maybe with an hurried or even an angry tone.
Yeah.
what does that convey to others?
It can convey a lot of things, a lot of negativity, obviously, but you also have to remember that it can trigger somebody. Our tone or the way we look at somebody, the way we
Yeah.
have our body language towards them, we got to
Yeah.
be careful because that in itself can become a trigger to somebody.
Yeah.
Having those loud noises, again, especially. I mean, I know myself. I was raised with a very loud parents that were always screaming,
Right.
and so growing up, loud noises like somebody raising their voice, that was a trigger for me for a while.
Wow.
Yeah, and it made it hard to communicate with anybody who, God forbid, maybe they had ear problems, they couldn't hear, so their tone was a little louder.
Right.
I would be confused, wondering, are they yelling at me, or are they just,
Right.
it's very, you don't know.
Right.
But you're right. The first thing I would think of is they're very angry.
Right. So you grew up as a child in that kind of setting.
In a very loud setting, lots of yelling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I grew up with some of that.
Yeah.
Yes, with some of that, but also with my mother, my biological mother. I grew up in a different way. She had a different way of communicating, and actually, she wouldn't communicate unless she needed something.
Yeah.
Unless really needed something, or whether it's information like what do you want for dinner, or this is what I'm doing for dinner, whatever. But when I get home from school, and I'm not kidding, I don't have a book here to give you an example of, but you ever read those big or seen those big thick romance novels?
Yeah.
I mean, those things were thick.
Yes.
And Fabio, did I share this
I
with
know
you
who
before?
Fabio is.
Fabio was all over them. I mean, this is before Fabio became on television or movies. But, I mean, this is what she would do.
Yeah.
I'd get home from school, instead of her asking me how your day's been, she's in this book reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was her escapism.
Yeah. But how did that, being ignored, how did that make you feel?
Oh, yeah. Being ignored like that, unwanted, I'm not important, things like that.
Yeah. And that's as simple, again, she didn't say anything.
Right.
Lots of body language says a lot, though.
Right. A lot of times our communication styles come from our family of origin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You were going to say.
I know for myself, the yelling, I promised myself I would never yell with my kids because I didn't want them to have the same trauma that I did.
Right.
So anytime that, like, in the beginning when I first had kids, I would raise my voice. I'd catch myself. I'm like, oh, I'm becoming my parents. And I'd catch it and, kind of be mindful about it. And so, because I'm not perfect, we are going to be susceptible to repeating things that our parents did sometimes. Because think about it, it's fully ingrained for years and years of our life.
Right.
And they are the first ones that we learn how to communicate, or lack of. And sometimes that happens too. We've met people who have never seen their parents argue, or communicate in any way. And so when they grow up, have relationships themselves, they don't know how to have those healthy conversations because they've never seen it.
Right. Or if they marry someone who comes from a loud family.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to get a divorce. I don't know how to handle this.
Yeah.
So the reverse, you have someone who's loud, but someone whose parents never argued in front of them. That person doesn't know how to debate, doesn't know how to have a healthy discussion.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They just don't know. They have not been brought to that, given that opportunity to learn those skills.
Right.
Another big thing is, like you were saying earlier, kind of that, what do you see when somebody, you're typing on your phone, you have your arms crossed, you're looking somewhere else. A big thing that a lot of people don't realize, and it's especially into our marriage
You mean like this?
Yeah, like this, looking away, it gives off like you're being gaslit. Yeah. Like being stonewalled. Because just think, the way you look, you almost look like you're putting a barrier between us.
Really?
With your arm there, you're turning, and that's not a form, that doesn't make the other person feel like you want to talk.
Right. It, a lot of people say when, this kind of body language like this is the protecting of the heart sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Or I even heard when you're in a group of people and you have a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And you're carrying a cup of coffee, it kind of it's between you and the other person. And it kind of separates you. Yeah. I mean, we can go into a lot of areas.
When it comes to reading the body language, definitely.
Oh, yes, exactly. So
the next part we're going to kind of go down to is kind of like the communication breakdown. So what are the problems that we sometimes come into? So assumptions, which we were talked about a little bit earlier, is a big one. We assume. We assume so much. We assume by the body language, and we don't ask. That's another big part of the communication.
We don't ask for clarification.
We don't ask. And if by simply asking, but quite often because we lack that communication skill, we'll just assume.
Right.
And given our background, sometimes it's not even close to what it could be.
Right.
You know, maybe they just have a stomach ache. It has nothing to do with what you said. You don't know.
Yeah.
But you don't know until you ask.
Right. You know, I know a good example is someone who is speaks a different language, and the husband said something to her, and she totally misunderstood.
Yeah.
She totally misunderstood. It was something like, it had to do with water being used in a CPAP. And the couple was running out of water.
Yeah.
So the wife asked the husband for some distilled water for the CPAP machine.
Yeah.
And the husband, who also has a CPAP machine, said, no, he didn't go get any at the grocery store, but you can use mine.
Yeah.
And the wife misunderstood that, saying, no, I didn't go, and you can't use mine. She totally misunderstood that.
Yeah.
And she said, and this is an assumption, she assumed that he said that, no, you can't use mine.
Yeah.
And based on that, she snarkily said, and that's how you show love?
I'm glad you said that, because that goes into our next part. It's
What's that?
Defensiveness.
Yeah.
That defensiveness is exactly what breaks down the communication sometimes.
Right.
Because instead of actually listening, we're listening to respond. We've talked about this before.
Right.
When we're not actually listening, paying attention to what our person's saying.
Right.
Because we are so on the guard.
Right.
And so depending on how the conversation has been started,
right.
You know, hopefully it started with, like we've talked about before, a soft startup.
Right.
But quite often, again, when we don't have those communication skills, we
Right.
might fumble and we might have a harsh startup.
Right. Right. And but you can delay.
Mm-hmm.
I think the number one thing is always question your assumptions.
Yes.
Always question your assumptions.
Yeah, don't run with them, because
don't run with them.
That's the worst thing you can do, is you're just assuming you don't know. You don't know.
For instance, if the wife would have said to the husband, "Did you say that you can't use your water?" No. That.
Yeah.
The husband would say, "I didn't say that. I said you can."
Clarification.
That way, snarkiness would have been gone. Yeah. The argument which became a heated argument with our startup.
Oh yeah.
All because of a misunderstanding and an assumption.
Yeah.
And then the defensiveness sets in, and the communication.
And so the next part kind of girls into what you were talking about. It's how to communicate.
Yeah.
And so beginning those communication things, the big thing that I know we do for marriage couples is we have them start by using I statements.
Right.
Lots of I statements.
Give us a good example of an I statement.
Yeah. So if you're with your partner and you might be frustrated with them, you don't go, "You frustrate me." You explain it to them. "Hey, when you leave the dirty dishes in the sink and it's your day to do dishes, it really bothers me because I feel like you don't care about doing the dishes."
Right.
Again, I statements. I'm not putting anything for you to be defensive. If I was the other way around and go like, "I can't believe you must never care about me because you don't ever do the dishes." Right. That's me assuming, and that's me blowing something out of proportion because you didn't say any of that.
Right.
And that's why we have to have that communication. Clarify, but clarify in the right way.
Right.
And that's where the I statements come in.
Yeah. So, we have more.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm like, all right. So that's passive listening.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's an example of passive. Mm-hmm. So what is active listening?
So active listening is when you are listening to your partner and then you reflect back what they said for clarification. So you can ask me, "Hey, what do you want for dinner?" for clarification. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I'd really like, spaghetti for dinner today. "Oh, you would like spaghetti? Would you also like some bread?"
Right.
Again, you're listening to me. We're communicating. Mm-hmm. You obviously heard what I said. We're engaging in this conversation back and forth.
Right.
So, but it had to do with me clarifying, or you clarifying what I wanted. There's that clarification, so that back and forth.
Right.
And then, of course, checking to understand, am I, when you ask a question, or like you said earlier with a couple that was having the issue with their CPAP,
Yeah.
Hey, hun, did I understand what you said right? Did you say that, you weren't going to give me water? Again, we get so scared oftentimes because of or a family of origin. We don't realize that we're communicating in an improper way. We just don't know it. So a lot of times this has to be learned. If we don't learn it properly from our parents, therapy is the best place to learn it.
Okay, great. Yeah. And what do you mean by time is right? Time it right.
Yeah. So a lot of times when we're having these discussions, they're going to get heated. They're going to get heated.
Yeah.
And when they get heated, we have to take a break. And it's hard. A lot of couples or anybody, I mean, it doesn't even have to be a couple, but a lot of people, they want to hash it out right there and then get it done with. It doesn't matter if they're yelling, fighting.
Right.
And that's not healthy. So we always recommend, hey, if you start escalating, voices escalate, we start offending one another, things get nasty, and you don't want to be that way. Take that break, whether it's 5 minutes, an hour, but you need to take that break, because right now when you're talking to one another, you're not even listening. You're just being defensive. And
it's time, and it's taking that time out to regulate your emotions.
Yeah.
And emotional regulation. One way of doing that is to calm ourselves, or to have a deep inhaling breath, hold it for 4 seconds.
Yeah.
No, you take a breath for 4 seconds, breathing in, hold it for 7 seconds, and then breathing out for 8 seconds, calming your body down.
Oh, yeah.
Also, grounding ourselves. 5 things you see in the room, 4 things you can touch and feel, like this wood here. 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, 1 thing you taste.
Perfect.
It's grounding ourselves, putting us back in the room where we're at, taking a time out, because when we have unregulated emotions, our mind is going back to the argument or thinking forward to, what am I going to do now? So we need to regulate, ground ourselves, regulate our body and how it's responding.
Yeah. So the last part of this is pretty much just practicing what you learned.
Right.
Changing how we communicate, how we understand one another, it's not going to happen in one day.
Right.
It's going to take a while. You've had this behavior for 30, 40, 50 years. It's going to take some time to change it. But as long as you have that awareness, I always tell people, you have that awareness, that's the first step to change.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully this will help people communicate better.
Yeah. And I think I like your final thought. The biggest communication problem is we don't listen to understand, we listen to reply.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we hope that you enjoyed this week's episode on The Journey. Follow us on The Journey by subscribing to The Journey through Pathfinder Media Group as well as Pathfinder Counseling Group. And if you're local in the state of Tennessee, or if you're in the state of Tennessee or local in Clarksville, Tennessee, you can look us up on Pathfinder Counseling Group. And if you need a counselor, Miss Krystal does see couples.
Oh, yeah. I do.
And using the Gottman method. And we have plenty of counselors here that would like to meet you.
Oh, yes.
Yep. So again, follow us on The Journey and subscribe to us. Thank you.